to take our signs down. This is what's going on here in San Francisco at KQED. They mobilized their security force. They don't have money for newsroom, but they're mobilizing the security force to try to take down signs and kick people off of benches in front of KQED. And kick seniors from the benches. This is what we're talking here about KQED. Who does KQED represent? The cops? Who do they represent? The corporations? Why are they here today at the security? Why are they taking down signs?
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Yeah, but this is what they're paying the security guards to do. This is what they're trying to do. Yeah, this is KQED par excellence. Call the security guards when you have somebody retired person sitting on a bench in front of KQED. You got to get them off that bench. It's private property. It's private property. Yeah. What's the bench? What are the benches here for? What are the benches here at KQED here for? What are they here? Yeah, they use minorities. Yeah, they use minorities here to kick people off the benches. Yeah, shame on you. Shame on you. This really tells you what KQED is about. I want to welcome all of you here today. My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with Work Week in San Francisco on KPOO. Also, I'm a member of the Pacific Media Workers Guild and the CWA, and our local has passed a resolution calling for freedom of Julian Assange. And today is World Press Freedom Day, and journalists all around the world and other people who are supporting free press are having actions in solidarity. And we need to build a movement in this world to protect the journalists like Julian Assange and Mumia Abu-jamal. And Mumia Abu-jamal was actually a member of CWA NABET in Philadelphia, where he was reporting on he was reporting on the brutality and the police murders in Philadelphia. So that was one of the reasons that the police in Philadelphia, the corrupt police and racist police, attacked him, framed him up, and charged him with murder. It was directly as a result of his reporting as a reporter, CWA NABET member in Philadelphia Public Radio. And we're here today to let people know, free Julian Assange, free Mumia Abu-jamal, and KQED, and I just learned today that KQED is canceling the newsroom. So they've got this massive building here. They have a budget of multi-million-dollar budget, over $50 million a year, and they can't afford a newsroom in San Francisco. So it tells you who the corporate managers of KQED are and why we need to really demand that KQED, NPR, and PBS demand the freedom of Mumia Abu-jamal and Julian Assange. And that's why we're here today. We're going to have some music and speakers, and we're going to let people know, free Julian Assange, free Mumia Abu-jamal, and KQED, NPR, and PBS. You should come out for them. You say you support journalism. You say you support freedom and democracy. How about defending the journalists here in the United States and internationally? They're making a big deal about the freedom of a Wall Street journalist who's been arrested in prison. Secretary Blinken and Biden are talking about this journalist. What about Julian Assange and Mumia Abu-jamal? They're journalists, and they've been imprisoned, jailed, and threatened. So we need to stand up for them. We'll have more speakers in a few minutes.
Circling over you when you're in hock, hit bottom rock. The reins of poverty are jerking on you. I think you need soldiers of solidarity. When you're stuck knee-deep in mud, wiped away by a flood or a hurricane. When you've been torn by some brutal storm, standing abandoned in the pouring rain, I think you need soldiers of solidarity. Not to your sympathy, but solidarity. When all looks lost, you've been tossed to the wolves of a system that don't give a damn. The only way we'll live to see a better day, when we all band together again, you and me. When you're on strike in the middle of a fight, about to crack your backs against the wall. When you've been turned, you got nowhere to learn, on the edge of a ledge, getting ready to fall. I think you need soldiers of solidarity, people like you and me. Soldiers of solidarity. They rule the seas, they're the powers that be. You'll never beat them alone, you see. The only damn thing that's gonna break these chains is when we all join forces again, you and me. Soldiers of solidarity, people like you and me. Soldiers of solidarity, when we're standing here together, we can make this world much better. When we're standing here together, we can make this world much better. When we're standing here in solidarity with you, man, solidarity with Julian Assange, in solidarity with Jamal, in solidarity. Stand in solidarity with Jamal and with Julian Assange. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike Stout and Pat Fahey, labor troubadours, labor musicians, joining us on World Press Freedom Day, demanding justice for Julian Assange and Mumia Abu-jamal. That's what we want. They need to be free, as well as the other journalists all over this world who are in prison, tortured, and killed because of getting the truth out about their stories, about the issues facing working people and people of the world. And we had this rally today, World Press Freedom Day. We put our press release out to all the corporate press in the Bay Area, and guess what? Not one of them can show up. Not one of them can show up, and it really shows you the corporate control of the media in this country, in the Bay Area and America. They want to talk about a journalist in Russia who should be defended from the Wall Street Journal, but they can't talk about the journalist the United States is jailing in prison in Pennsylvania and in prison in Britain. So talk about duplicity and a double standard. That's what we have in this country here today. And the reason we're out in front of KQED, which is part of PBS and NPR, is that they claim that they're an independent news source. They claim that they are telling the stories about people in this country and around the world. But guess what? They're silent about Julian Assange. They're silent about Mumia Abu-jamal. And the thing about Mumia, he was a member of the CWA NABET. He was a journalist at public radio in Philadelphia. He was telling the story. He was telling the story about the police brutality, the murders in Philadelphia, and the corruption. And that's why he was framed up by the police in Philadelphia. That's why they wanted Mumia Abu-jamal in prison. And we in the CWM, a member of the Newspaper Guild, Pacific Media Workers Newspaper Guild in San Francisco, passed a resolution to free Julian Assange. We need to include Mumia Abu-jamal at our upcoming News Guild convention and also the CWA. The journalists in this country need to back up their brothers and sisters. They need to demand that they be free, that Julian Assange and Mumia Abu-jamal be freed. What kind of journalists are they not to be outspoken about that? They're brothers and sisters, because if they jail Julian Assange, they will threaten all journalists. It's illegal. I mean, he's not even an American citizen, he's Australian, and he's being charged with espionage. Any person in the world can be charged with espionage if the United States doesn't like what they're saying. And that's why they're after Julian Assange. He's exposed the war crimes of the United States, the war crimes of the government officials. And who's in jail? Not the war criminals, but Julian Assange. That's who's in jail. So we're going to have a number of speakers today who are supporting on World Press Freedom Day the right of Julian Assange. First up.
Thank you, Steve. So we're out here today to protest KQED's unwillingness to give equal time to the defenders of political prisoners like Mumia Abu-jamal and Julian Assange. A couple years ago, we were picketing in front of KQED because they were running a program putting forward the good work that Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner was doing, and he was doing some good work. But the big elephant in the room was Mumia Abu-jamal, the most famous political prisoner in this country, a journalist, former member of the Black Panther Party, who's been in jail for 42 years now. And what we want from KQED, the reason we're out here picketing today, is because Larry Krasner, more than anyone else right now, is responsible for Mumia continuing to be in jail. His first black judge gave him the right to appeal. The so-called progressive Larry Krasner opposed that right to appeal. That's why Mumia is in prison even today. The latest appeal that Mumia had was blocked by another judge, Judge Lucretia Clemens, and she ruled that Mumia's appeals are not valid, that the question of the picking the jurors by race, which is unconstitutional, was put forward too late to be active. The other point was the giving compensation to their key witnesses. In Mumia's case, there was a taxi driver who was the star witness for the prosecution. And he wrote a note to the DA at the time telling him that he wants his money for the testimony that he gave in court. These are the kind of misinformation and prosecutorial misconduct that is going on, and KQED and the media in general need to have equal time for those political prisoners who are in jail now. They shouldn't be in jail. They're innocent. Mumia is innocent. He was persecuted under the COINTEL program of FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, and Julian Assange is innocent. What did he do? He made available to the media, to everyone, to the world, that the U.S. in Iraq is killing civilians indiscriminately, and particularly journalists. This is not something that's put forward either in KQED, which is supposed to be a public broadcasting station, nor the private enterprise side of the media. So we want equal time for Mumia and Julian Assange. Free them now.
Thank you, Jack. And we learned as a result of our action, actually, our solidarity action on World Press Freedom Day, that KQED is closing down Newsroom, the only news show that they have on KQED. Why? The reason they're closing down Newsroom is the CEO of KQED said the ratings are too low. The ratings are too low in their news show, so they're going to close down the only newsroom, the only news show they have on KQED. Well, why are the ratings too low? Maybe they're not covering Mumia Abu-jamal. Maybe they're not covering Julian Assange. Maybe they're not covering real news unless it comes out of the Pentagon and comes out of Biden and the government. They're not covering labor issues. They don't have a labor show. They should have a labor show. They call themselves public television, and they get a tax deduction as a result of contributing to them. But the workers here are going to be laid off, 5 of them, and they just announced it. We're cutting Newsroom. So we're making news here. So I suggested to the shop steward, they go to the Labor Council, and they do a campaign to defend Newsroom. They should have a news program. Look at this building here. They got a massive building here. They got millions and millions of dollars, and they can't do a news show, and they say the reason is because the ratings are too low. I think that's the problem with PBS, NPR, and KQED. They're run by the corporateers. That's really the problem. So on World Press Freedom Day, keep Newsroom at KQED. Keep Newsroom at KQED on World Press Freedom Day. Our next speaker is Mehmet, because the struggle of journalists is not just in the United States, the struggle of journalists in all the world. And in Turkey, journalists are terrorized, murdered, and assassinated. So welcome, Mehmet.
Today we are celebrating the freedom of the press, but with a heavy heart, because there is no such thing. The reason is, if you have the media in private hands, then you are already not free. And I'll give you examples of what happens in other places when privatization, fascism, and the corporatization of everything, including the media, is in the agenda. In Turkey, in the last few years, more than 90% of the private media has been gobbled up by corporations that are friendly with the government, and 24 hours a day they do nothing but spur out information, disinformation, lies, and propaganda. But how did this happen? First, it's privatization. You push the ownership, instead of the people, you push it to private hands. And then you give with government funds, tax monies, government banks, you give billions of dollars to those who are friendly to you. And they come in and literally take over the media corporations. And then the massacre starts. Anybody who is not doing propaganda is fired. And then you put in censor bureaus that watch every single, there's only about like 4 media outlets in Turkey that are opposing. They are in the opposition hands. They watch every single show. And even if your face doesn't look good. I'm not making this up. When you are reading the news, if your facial features is not serious, you get fined. You get fined 3% of your income. In other places, just because a guest asked a question, 5% of your income, they immediately deduct, and they shut you down for a week. This is what happens when you privatize and when you have fascism in your country. Don't think for a moment that we have freedoms. Don't think for a moment that we have press freedoms. Where were everybody when Gary Webb, who wrote in the San Jose Mercury News about the cocaine entering this country and filling all the black neighborhoods, was shot twice in the head, and FBI tells us that he shot himself twice, committing suicide. He was the journalist. Where was everybody when Mumia was taken into prison, tortured? Where is everybody when Julian Assange is caught for espionage? So they erode the freedoms, small, little steps, until one morning you wake up and there is nothing. That's why the attack is not only on the journalists, it's on doctors, nurses, everybody. That's how fascism comes. Slowly, you don't realize it, but every day you lose one freedom. And in Turkey, I lost count of how many journalists are killed. I'm not kidding. I talked to the union that represents the journalists. They cannot keep a figure. It's so dynamic. Every day, 10, 15 journalists are taken in. They are kept for a week, and then they are released, and then 10 days later, they are taken in again. They are beaten, tortured. I can give you just account of what happened yesterday. Forget about a month, forget about a year. Yesterday, a woman journalist asked the Interior Minister, elections are coming on May 14th. Interior Minister said the elections are a coup. There is gonna be a coup on election day, just like what Trump said, that the elections doesn't count, that he won. So a journalist on the street asked him what he meant, if he can elaborate on his own words. Immediately she was attacked, her camera taken, and she was threatened by the police and the guards. This is, yes, in Turkey. Just yesterday. And yesterday again, 2 events on the same day. A journalist was trying to ask questions in a press conference of the foreign minister. We have the video of a guard coming and whispering to her saying, "Stop asking questions, why are you here? I control who is in this press conference and who is not. I can throw you out, so shut up and don't ask questions." So this is, yes, a democracy in Turkey, like the NATO member Turkey. Very good relationship with the United States. Where is the United States condemning these? No, because the government is privatizing, giving the media to the capitalists, giving the media to the fascists. That's why it's not a subject that we are going to bring up. So let's protect our freedoms. Let's protect the rights we have. Any inch you give them, they're going to take a mile. And this is how fascism comes. This is how oppression comes. You lose them one by one, not only journalists, but all other sections of the life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. And today we're defending journalists in Turkey. We're defending journalists all over the world, because the assassination, the murder, and the brutal treatment of journalists and the shutdown and censorship of media is very important. They want to control the media so people don't know what the hell's going on. That's really going on. And that's why they're losing listenership. That's why they say the ratings are low here at KQED for their news show. I mean, newsroom closed down, And the CEO of this empire here, KQED, says the ratings aren't high enough. Well, what does that mean? Is this a corporate radio station? Is this a corporate TV station? I guess the ratings determine whether they stay on the air or not. They don't air what people want to hear. They don't air about privatization right in San Francisco. They don't air about the murder of people in San Francisco, poor people and working people by the police. They don't report on the new district attorney who's given a free hand to the police. In fact, she's an agent of the police and the Police Officers Association in San Francisco. That's what they don't really want to talk about, because they defend capitalist order. They defend the corporations and banks in San Francisco who are destroying San Francisco and blaming working people. So our next speaker is Cristina Gutierrez, an activist in the immigrant community, fighting for justice and fighting against the corruption and the murders by police in San Francisco that are going on, and the cover-up by district attorneys. Welcome, Cristina.
I want to say that I'm so happy to be here and to see how we, the elders, are the future of the world, continue to be the future of the world. As once revolutionary pointed out many, many years ago, that the essential people are those who fight all their life. It's important that we remember that. So we realize the importance of each one of us to be here and to take a stand. Because we're living through very dangerous times. And we've been going on through this for a long time, and we can bring that truth to the young people in this city and in this country and in the world. We need to do that. It is essential that we do that. A few days ago, I was part of the people who shut down Walgreens because they murdered this young black man, 23 years old, homeless, because he took a sandwich. Just think about that. He was hungry, and he took a sandwich, and they murdered him. Just think about the humanity behind that act, what was done. And just think that the district attorney of this city is saying that she will not press charges because that person who murdered this young man was defending himself from what? The sandwich that she had in her hand? That was the dangerous weapon that this person had. But it gives us a message to this system when we fight for food, for housing, for education, for human rights. It is dangerous, and they will murder us for that. They will murder us because we want to have a home, because we want to have housing, education, health care, because we want to have those 4 human rights that everybody would like to have. And they use the press to lie and keep people believing that this system worked for them, that this system worked for us and it has, and that it can be reformed and it can be transformed. They use the press to do that. They use the press to oppress us. Right, and they allowed for people like Julian Assange and Mumia Abu-jamal and many others to go to jail, to spend their whole life in jail fighting for justice until the end of their life because they took a stand for the truth. The truth is being hijacked, is being tortured when they do this to Mumia Abu-jamal or to Julian Assange. They are torturing truth. Remember that. They are torturing truth. They're taking the truth away from us. But the problem, brothers and sisters, is that we allow for that to happen. And we need to begin to continue this kind of struggles, even if it's 4 or 5 of us. We'll be the voice of the voiceless. We will continue to fight until everybody unites with us and realize what's happening, and we change this system. This is not, brothers and sisters, this is not about, fixing this system. It cannot be fixed. It cannot be fixed. When you murder somebody for a sandwich, it cannot be fixed. It cannot be fixed. Get it to your head. When you have somebody like Julian Assange who took the stand to do his job as a journalist and tell us the truth, and he has been in jail and he has been tortured, and they want to bring him here to murder him, it cannot be fixed. When you have Mumia Abu-jamal and many other political prisoners in this country in jail because they fought for justice for all of us, for 80 years, for 50 years in jail, 40 years in jail, some of them in solitary all those years. How can you tell me that you can fix the system? I don't come to talk about fixing the system. I come to talk about that we must unite and build a revolutionary movement to overthrow this goddamn system and bring some sort of justice into this goddamn world, into this city, into the whole world. That's all I've come to talk about. That's what I want to give to all the young people in this country. Wake up, rise up, and fight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And I have to add that the journalists in Colombia, the journalists in Mexico, the journalists in Latin America faced massive terror and death. That's what's going on. The number of journalists have been killed in Mexico by the government, by the police, by the drug people is massive. And the United States is responsible for that because we ship guns there. The United States is involved in Mexico, militarizing Mexico like the United States is militarized. You know, one of the things about the militarization of the world that the United States is involved in is all these shootings. Every time there's a shooting, there are more ads. Buy a machine gun, buy an M16, buy an AK-47 every day. So they're profiting from death. They're profiting from massacres, the capitalists of this run country. And they don't talk about the billionaires who make money off of massacres, off of the military-industrial complex, because these people at KQED are paid by petroleum. They used to call this, and they do call it, petroleum airwaves, because they get money from Pfizer, the drug companies. They get money from military contractors who make money from war. That's what we're talking about, the war machine. And they wonder why their ratings aren't high. Maybe if they talked about the war machine and the wars in Ukraine that the United States is supporting, the wars to surround China and to build up the military. And this coming Saturday, at the Australian consulate, there's going to be another rally. Because guess what? There aren't enough military bases of the United States around the world. They want to add a U.S. nuclear submarine base in the port of Kembla in Australia. We need another U.S. nuclear submarine base. That's what we need in this country. People are dying in the streets. People are dying in the streets and can't get health care in this country, and they're being evicted from their homes, and the United States wants to build a U.S. nuclear submarine base in Australia? That's what's going on in this country. That's what's going on in the world. I recently returned from Japan. They have trains. They have a bullet train system that functions. You can travel around the country without going through security like we do to get on a damn airplane. Why? Because they're not spending $1 trillion a year on war. And that's what the United States wants in Japan. They want the Japanese to militarize, get rid of Article 9, which prohibits offensive war, and spend all the kind of money that we're spending on the military. And we say no. That's what KQED should be covering, but they're not going to talk about that because the people who give them money make money from war. Make money, General Dynamics and these other companies. Every time a bomb drops, they make money. That's what's going on, and that's why we really need to bring back public radio and public TV in San Francisco. We need to defend the workers here who are fighting the shutdown of newsroom in San Francisco. So our next speaker is with Peace and Freedom Party, the only socialist party on the ballot in California. Welcome, Eric.
Hello. My name is Eric Bergman, and I am representing the Peace and Freedom Party of California. The Peace and Freedom Party demands the release of Mumia Abu-jamal from prison. Evidence shows that Mumia Abu-jamal was framed and is innocent of the charges of which he was convicted. Mumia is one of the United States' longest-serving political prisoners. Mumia was targeted by the FBI COINTELPRO program because he was black, low income, and most importantly, he criticized the Philadelphia police's history of bias against black people. Peace and Freedom Party also demands that Joe Biden drop the charges against Wikileaks founder and journalist Julian Assange. Julian Assange is being targeted because he exposed U.S. war crimes, including the video of a U.S. air crew gunning down Iraqi civilians. The Peace and Freedom Party advocates that Julian Assange be treated as a journalist and publisher who is protected by free speech laws and not be treated as a spy. The Peace and Freedom Party has been aware that many social justice activists have been imprisoned and that several of these prisoners have died in prison. Free Mumia Abu-jamal, free Julian Assange, free all political prisoners.
We're going to be back here at KQED, demanding that newsroom continue functioning. So we're going to close out. Mike Stout, Pat Fahey, going to do a couple songs. Welcome them back from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I'd like to sing a special song dedicated to Mumia Abu-Jamal and Julian Assange called I Shall Be Released. They say everything can be replaced. They say every distance is not near. Yet I remember every face of every man who put me here. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. They say every man needs protection. They say that every man must fall. And yet I swear I see my reflection somewhere so high above that wall. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. Now yonder stands a man in this lonely crowd. He's crying out that he was framed. And all day long I hear him shouting so loud. He's crying out that he was framed. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. Hey, I don't know about you all, but I'm going to tell you right now, I know what it's going to take to release him. It's going to take a frickin' revolution. I can feel it in your heart, I can see it in your eyes, I can hear it in the pain of the hungry child's cries. And when I look into your soul, I can feel the fires grow, see the flames shooting all across the sky. From Cairo to Sudan, La France to Deutschland, from Buenos Aires to Bombay, Moscow, Beijing to the USA, I can hear them. Planets in trouble, paradise lays in rubble. Empire's bubble has started to burst. Perfect storms form as the poets all warn. For the proletariat it will only get worse. Age of reform, beaten, battered down and torn. These scoundrels don't know compromise. Damn the fear and lies, our destiny cries. We need a revolution now. We need a revolution now. Hey! In the sweatshops and the cages of the economic outrages, from the darkest pages of wage slavery, on the killing fields underneath the iron heels, blinded by the wheels of a plutocracy, famine and drought, hunger raging all about, for the have-nots there's no other way out. The system is broke, the truth needs spoke, we need a revolution now. We need a revolution now. Greedy robber barons sucking our blood, these vultures ain't never satisfied. We need the fire of a much higher love to defeat them. We must unseat them. It's a question of survival. The bell has been rung, the final battle's begun. Judgment Day has come in a land of broken dreams. The working masses choke their necks inside a rope, indebted indentured servants to the global machine. Stand up and rise, we better get organized. These madmen won't go without a fight. We need something like a world general strike. We need a revolution now. We need a revolution now. We need a revolution now. We need a revolution right now. We need a revolution.
Call the police. Call the police. Call the police. Call the police. They're trying to tell people they can't put us under, we can't sit on them.
Get away with your private property.
Here, Pat.
KQED, public television, public radio.
What are you defending? Shame on you. Look at your face. Look what you are. Look at who you are.
What's the name of your group, your band?
Mike Snell.
This is what's going on here in San Francisco and KQED. They mobilize their security force. They don't have money for newsroom, but they're mobilizing the security force to try to take down signs and kick people off of benches in front of KQED. And kick seniors from the benches. This is what we're talking here about KQED. Who does KQED represent? The cops? Who do they represent? The corporations? Why are they here today, the security? Why are they taking down signs?
Shame on you. Shame on you. Look at your face.
This is what they're paying the security guards to do. This is what they're trying to do.
You should
Yeah,
be
this is
representing the
KQED par
people, not the
excellence.
Yeah.
Call the security guards when you have somebody sitting, retired person sitting on a bench in front of KQED. You got to get them off that bench. It's private property. It's private property. Yeah.
bench is here for.
What's the bench? What are the benches here for? What are the benches here at KQED here for? What are they here?
Minorities. They
Yeah.
use minorities.
They use minorities. Yeah, they use minorities here to kick people off the benches. Yeah, shame on you.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
This really tells you what KQED is about. Yeah, they better call the police. We better get the San Francisco police. They'll bring justice here.
You should see what she did. She came like, okay, I'm big, I can do this. No, I'm small, but she ain't gonna do that.
The police defended us last time. They said, no, he told them. I said, no, go right there. No, right?
An incident here.
I'm glad she came out here and tried to get you guys off the bench because you are really dangerous people. Oh my God.
That's right.
Dangerous people.
Dangerous people. You're sitting on that bench in front of KQED. What else is going to happen? You want to say something?
Carol was dangerous.
You want to say something, Carol? You want to speak?
Oh, yeah.
Carol, come on.
She's got all that propaganda in her head.
Carol, why don't
I
you say
can
something?
feel it in your heart. I can see it in your eyes.
Carol, say something.
Say something.
The hungry child.
Carol, come on.
And when I
Look
look
at
at
this.
this,
The security guards are here to remove you from the bench. Look at this.
Say something. Shame.
From Buenos Aires, Bombay,
You couldn't do it, huh? You could not do it. And you won't do it.
I can hear them. Paradise laid in rubble.